Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Birth Boot Camp podcast. I am Holly Hopley, your CEO.
I'm Cheryl Ambling, certification coordinator.
And today we actually have two guests. We've only done this a couple of times. We have Caren Nugent with us, and we have Jaunitta Taylor, and they are both doulas and instructors and postpartum doulas, like birth and postpartum. I just realized you're both all three. So that's exciting. We invited them today to talk about their postpartum support group that they started in their area. I think every area needs these, so we definitely wanted to talk to you guys about that. But first, we'll start with you, Caren. Do you mind introducing yourself for a minute? And then Jaunitta, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I'm Caren Nugent. I am Arlington Birth Services, and I am a childbirth educator and birth and postpartum doula. I'm also a trainer for Birth Boot Camp, and have two kids, and I struggled postpartum. And what really helped me was having breastfeeding support groups and postpartum mom groups, any mom group really. And so, yeah.
Hi, I'm Jaunitta Taylor. I'm also in Arlington. I'm Epiphany doula, birth and postpartum doula and childbirth educator. My husband and I have been married almost 32 years, and we have 4 grown children ranging in age from 27 to 19. And I had different postpartum experiences with each one, and each time was difficult in its own way. So I don't feel like it's just first-time moms that need support. It's every time moms that need support. So I found great help with connecting with other moms when I was in that postpartum period.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, same.
Yep. Do you mind briefly just telling us how you got into birth work and why you love doing this work for both of you?
So I got into it after the birth of my children. I had my kids outside of the hospital, and I kind of felt like that just rocket launched me into the crunchy world, and realizing that you didn't have to do everything the way that you see on TV or the way that your mom or your sister or whoever tells you how to do things. And that going from that, like during my pregnancy, I wanted to be able to share that with other people and have them like want my knowledge because I was sharing it and nobody wanted to hear it. So I found Birth Boot Camp through Banned from Baby Showers, Donna Ryan's blog, and fell in love with her philosophy and loved her blog and Mama Birth as well. And so whenever I was ready to get into the birth world, Birth Boot Camp was the natural choice for me because that's who I resonated with the most. And I really just wanted to do education and teach others that there's other ways to birth.
Yeah, similar. My husband and I, we had all 4 of our kids in the hospital. But our first 3 were very traditional, I started 27 years ago having kids, and back then you just did what they told you to do. But I just always felt sort of an instinct in me that there was a better way. And I just wasn't quite sure how to get there. And so when we found out we were pregnant with our 4th, I was like, no, I don't want the traditional hospital birth. I don't want the epidural. I don't want the medication. I don't want all the things. And so she was born in the hospital, but it was a friend of ours that we hired to, at the time, I didn't really know what a doula was, but she was more like a labor coach. And she just kind of helped us understand the natural birth process. And so then after that experience, I was like, this is what I'm talking about. I knew this was, possible. And so, but that was years ago, and connected with Melanie Shepard, and we kind of were on that raising kids journey together, and she's a lactation consultant. So years later, after the kids were grown, I sort of reached out and she told me about birth boot camp. And so I just jumped in. I was like, this is what I want to do. My background is education. I taught before I had kids. We had kids, and I just really didn't feel like the classroom was where my desire was. So I changed my life at 49. I just recreated myself and haven't looked back. I love it. There's a gap. I was just telling someone recently, I just feel like there's a gap between that loving support you get from your partner and the kind of support you get in a traditional hospital experience. And as a doula, I feel like we fill that gap. We kind of bring that experience to help other moms have that birth that they want.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so let's kind of talk about like the support group that you guys have started. You've been doing it for, well, how long have you been doing it now? I know, for what, a month or two?
A couple of months.
Yeah.
Um,
So 2 months, 3 months?
something
maybe?
like that.
Beginning
Yeah,
of February, I think.
Yeah.
I've lost track.
Yeah.
Time
Like
flies.
how old are the babies?
Right. Yep. So what sparked you guys wanting to do this? Why did you want to start it?
So I had been thinking this is a need because at like in the birth boot camp groups, people are like, hey, I need a breastfeeding support group to attend, and and everything is online. And I know for me, I don't want to be in an online group. It will make me not want to get online, and you don't have that connection. But I didn't have the capacity to add something else to my plate on my own. So it had just been an idea that I had had for months. And I even talked to one of the pastors at my church, like, hey, I think this is a need. And he's like, I agree with you. Do you have the time? And I'm like, okay, well, never mind. Because I didn't have the time. And then it was like a week later. I don't even think it was a week. I think it was a couple of days later. I get a text from Jaunitta, and she's like, so do you think we should start a postpartum support group? And I had already spoken to my pastor. I knew that I was going to be able to have it at the church. I just needed somebody else to help me. And so that was how I struggled so hard with postpartum. And I know that there are other moms who also struggle with postpartum and need that in-person group. And a lot of the groups that I found recently, you have to pay for them. And some of them, it's an exuberant amount of money. And I'm like, that's not fair.
Wow.
That's not right. So and they were usually localized. Like you had to birth with these people in order to go to that group, or this is just specific to birth or postpartum, or sorry, breastfeeding. So they were very specific groups, and I didn't think that was fair either. So that was where I came from. And Jaunitta, I think, is kind of similar.
Yeah, very similar. I had been attending, well, of course, I was attending Melanie Shepherd's lactation support group when I had our fourth. And so then when I started in birth work, I went back to the For Baby's Sake group, and that is a breastfeeding support group. And ours is not specific, but just that camaraderie, that group of people that are like-minded, are in the same life stage together, was so helpful. And then of course COVID hit, and nobody could meet in person in groups anymore. And so I feel like it's just been harder and harder for moms to connect. And then also on the other side of that, I kept seeing in our groups, hey, how can I meet the fulfillment for the certification for support group? Where can I go to a support group? I kept seeing that over and over. And like Caren said, they're either in North Dallas or, the north side of the Metroplex, or they're specific to certain criteria, or they cost money. I mean, there are just all these factors to the support groups that I knew about. And so I just started thinking about it one day, like, why am I not doing this? Why am I not doing this?
Yeah.
I've raised 4 kids. If there's anything I have experience in, it's postpartum. So yeah, I just thought, Caren and I work well together. We're good friends. We have similar ideas. So just like she said, I texted her and I was like, hey, do we need to start a postpartum group? And she goes, what? Just talking about that. So my thing was I have as much time as I have. I just could get called away at any minute to a birth, but it wasn't necessarily a time constraint. I wasn't sure where I would do it. I was like, I don't know where to do this. I can't really do it at my house. I don't know. I guess I could rent a place, but I don't really want to do that. And Caren wasn't sure she had the time resources, but she had a place. And so, I don't know what you believe in, but all the stars aligned, all the powers that be just kind of put it in place, and we just love it. I look for Monday night is the bright spot of my week.
That's
I love
awesome.
It's
love
so much fun. Like the support that we have gotten from our spouses. Like my husband's like, yes, that is definitely a need, because like Jaunitta, I also went to For Baby's Sake, and I am still friends with the ladies from For Baby's Sake. I went to La Leche League. I was huge in La Leche League. I am still friends with those ladies. My kids are 10 and 12, and I am still friends with those ladies. And so I knew that this was like a huge need. And for whenever I was starting out, we had no money. I couldn't afford a support group that was $100, $200 a month, which, looking around, that's what these support groups cost. They are
That's insane.
$25 a session. It's like, why would you do that to a new mom? Obviously different clientele. It's totally fine. But whenever I approached my pastor about it, like our church has lots of different support groups throughout the week. And he was just like, he didn't even hesitate. He's like, yep, let's do it. So yeah, the place was a no-brainer for us. And we wanted something centralized because we're in Arlington. Everything else is North Dallas or way North Fort Worth. So an hour away. And so we wanted something more centralized. Arlington is pretty central to the DFW area. And so we're in East Fort Worth. So we're right on that border of Arlington and Fort Worth. And I think it's a great, we have somebody in Fort Worth, we have people in Arlington, we're down further south in Arlington. So I think it encompasses a lot.
Yeah.
I love that.
So,
And
it's not specifically a religious group, but Caren's church and her pastor have been so generous. I cannot tell you what a gift it is to have a place that we feel comfortable and safe, and like she said, that's kind of central to a lot of areas. But it's open to all moms. It's open to any kind of feeding philosophy, any kind of sleep philosophy, any kind of birth philosophy. We're not just, natural birth, breastfeeding, co-sleeping. We're, hospital, epidural, formula feeding, whatever. We're more about connecting moms together. And there's some really great stuff going on in the Metroplex for postpartum. There's some great classes that moms can take, and some workshops and seminars and things. And I think those are amazing and great. So our focus hasn't necessarily been on teaching anything or workshopping anything or leading anything. Our focus was, we need to connect moms. Moms need connection. And we have experience, we're certified, we're professional birth workers, but moms need each other. And so it's a little bit different philosophy of a postpartum group than what some of them are in the Metroplex. So that's what we're excited about, is connecting moms. So like Caren said, they can have those friendships and relationships forever, even past the postpartum group.
Yeah. I love that. So I think that you've kind of spoken to this, but I want like a specific answer. So why is this important? Why is having a support group important in an area?
How long do we have? How long can we talk about this?
Right?
All day.
I could talk about this all day. I think for me, the number one thing is loneliness. New moms in postpartum oftentimes feel so lonely and like they're doing it wrong, or they're going to be judged for their decisions, or they're just exhausted and lonely, and sometimes really don't have a lot of support. And so, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest reasons for me personally why it's so important. But I mean, Caren has lots of great input too, but I just had to say, I just see so many lonely postpartum moms. And I remember that. I remember feeling lonely. And that, I'm just going to tell y'all, I'm old enough to be some of these moms. I could be the grandma of the group. And I remember that feeling. And I just want to go hug all of them and say, you're not alone. We've been there. We understand, and we'll walk this with you and connect you with other moms, because nobody should feel lonely in postpartum.
And it's also important to know that when you are postpartum and your baby is in the middle of a sleep regression, or they are not breastfeeding, or they whatever milestone development issues, whatever it is, or you are not sleeping, or you and your partner are fighting because of XYZ, or you're being bombarded with family and friends telling you what to do and what not to do. It's nice to be with people and be like, I understand. I am validating your experience, but I'm also here to tell you, you are not crazy. Because as a postpartum mom, I felt incredibly crazy for the thoughts that were in my head, for the fact that my kid wasn't sleeping. And I needed other people to tell me, I am in this exact same boat. I am also up 3-4 times at night. My baby is also doing this and this and this. So having people validate your feelings, and you are not alone. What you are thinking, what you are experiencing, it is not brand new. So you are not crazy, or your baby is not whatever. So I think that is really important. And I love our group because we have, Jaunitta and I, Jaunitta has older children, they are adults. And then mine are mid-range, they're 10 and 12. So, and then we have the babies, but they're far enough apart where one mom is like, I have a 2-year-old, a 2-year-old at home, but I also have a baby. And then another mom has a brand new baby, first time mom. And they are still able to say, yes, I have been there. And this is what we did with my first. And this is how we're handling it the second time around. So I think it's a really nice balance of all different ages. I'm not also a postpartum mom in the thick of it. I have experience. And then Jaunitta has, 4 times experience as well. So I think having that is just so important to know you're not alone. It gets easier.
It gets different. My favorite line
is different. That's good.
It gets different.
The hard is different. And so it's nice to have that, because if you're just with a bunch of moms that are in the same age, where does this end? How is this going to end? Am I going to survive this?
Right. It's nice to be able to like see somebody who literally survived it. Like, you did it. You survived this. I think I might be okay.
Might be okay.
I can see that.
And one of the moms just texted me this week. I was helping her with some breast milk. She was needing some donor milk. And she said, I'm just so grateful that I found my tribe. I just almost cried. It almost made me cry, because I don't think she would have been able to find that resource on her own. she's a strong, independent woman. It's not that she isn't capable,
Right.
but
Right.
it's hard to step out of your comfort zone and just go looking for help. And so most of the time, postpartum moms just won't. I mean, they just sit at home and suffer.
Well, yeah. And our
I just felt
society,
good.
that is, I love that. Our society tells women that you should be able to do it all, you know, and Instagram tells us that you should also have full face of makeup and, you know, blow dried hair, you know, 2 days postpartum. So we spend so much time thinking that we're less than and that we're lacking and that something's wrong. And because nobody reaches out and says like, hey, this is normal and it's really, really hard. And let's join arms and do it together. So, I mean, yeah, having that space where they can come together and they can say, this is hard and I need help in a safe space, like you said, is like, I think it's the biggest gift that you could give a postpartum mom. So I think it's really important what you guys are doing.
And we have like key questions that we ask every week. We'll say, you know, how's your week? We have some specific questions that we ask, but basically we just let them lead. You know, what happened this week with you? What's going on this week? What was a struggle this week? What was a victory this week? And that's where the group goes that night. So that's kind of nice too, because we're not just preaching something at them or, you know, talking at them a bunch of information. We're letting them feed back to us what they need and what's important.
And that's been really cool to see them like talk about their week. And then the other one's like, oh yes, we just did that this week or last week or whatever. And this is how we overcame it, or this is what we're doing. And so they're helping each other. So it's a peer-to-peer group, not a professional talk, you know, like what Jaunitta said, preaching to them. Like we can give our, you know, our stuff, but it's really them. So we're just the facilitators of this group.
Right.
And the moms, it's what they're getting out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you both go to all the meetings or do you alternate, or how does the schedule work out for you guys leading it?
I mean, with us being birth workers, like sometimes I can't go, or Jaunitta can't go. So one of us is always there, but most of the time it's both of us together.
Okay.
And most of the time we ride together.
Yeah.
Because we live like 2 minutes from each other. So we kind of get it. That's kind of fun because on weeks that we do just ride together to save, you know, gas and whatever, we get to talk about things that are going on in our lives as in our stages of life. And then when we get to the group, we've kind of dealt with our stuff, or we get to unpack what we heard in the group on the way home. So
I love that.
That's kind of fun too. That's just an extra tidbit of goodness for me.
Yeah,
that's an added bonus.
That's why I always say you got to find your doula friends, your birth worker friends that like you can get along with and you enjoy like spending time with, because we definitely, I mean, we need that too. So yeah, you guys are, you know, killing 2 birds with 1 stone there.
Yeah.
But so when you guys, you know, you found out you both wanted to do this, like what were your next steps? Like how did you like plan it? How did you you know, how did you like market it and spread the word, and just kind of how did you guys put all this together?
Caren did it. Y'all know how I feel about social media. Caren did it.
So that's been like where I feel like we could definitely step it up a little bit more. We can promote online all we want, but really it comes from us inviting moms as doulas, as educators, us inviting the moms, but then also the moms inviting their friends and saying like, hey, I go to this group on Monday nights. Why don't you join me? And then and you don't even have to, if you don't want to bring your baby, you don't even have to do that. So we have a mom who will come without her baby and she just eats her dinner and it's hot and she doesn't have to
Oh,
chase
Good for
that's
chase the
her.
baby.
amazing.
So,
That's
but
amazing.
and it also gives her husband time with the baby.
Mhm. I
But
love
yeah,
that.
like we met over coffee and we're like, okay, what do we not want this group to be? Well, we don't want it to be specific to birthing philosophies, parenting philosophies, etc. We want it to be free. And we want it to be centralized and weekly, because a lot of the groups that we were seeing were once a month. And if
Yeah.
somebody comes in on, I don't know, Tuesday, and they want a group, oh, I'm sorry, you have to wait 4 more weeks before the next group. So we wanted something weekly so that Tuesday comes along, hey, you know what? In 6 days, we have another group. So come to that one. And I think the weekly really makes a difference. It makes moms want to come because
Mhm.
it's a scheduled thing, but they
Yeah.
don't have to feel like they have to come to everyone. They come when they can.
Mhm.
And babies get sick and things come up, and we've had we've had members who went out of town or whatever, and we celebrate that milestone. Hey, you took your newborn out of town for the first time, and so then that's a topic: how to travel with a newborn.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it really is peer led. But yeah, I tease a lot about social media. It just really is difficult for me to understand. And so I really am trying, I promise. But so Caren really took charge, and she designed a flyer, which looks really great. And we've been taking them around to birth centers, and I give them to all my doula clients. I say, okay, after your baby's born, here's a group. And I went to a postpartum follow-up visit yesterday with one of my clients and gave her a flyer and told her about the group. And she doesn't live far and she knows where the church is. So she was like, that sounds great. So there's another one, So I think because of already being in the birth community, it kind of makes it easier for us to have access to these moms. And, I've had midwives say, I want to put this flyer in my 36-week folder. Can you make some more copies?
Oh, I love that.
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, it started with a text and then a coffee date and just went from there.
Mhm.
And it happened pretty quickly. Like, I think we met for coffee like on like a Wednesday or something. And then by the next Monday, we had confirmation from the church that, yes, you can do it on Mondays at 6:30 in this room. And I think we made the flyer like that week. So it all like, I think we started the group maybe a week and a half after the idea was conceptualized.
That is awesome.
Man, that's awesome.
That's just
How long are the meetings? So every Monday for how long?
An hour and a half.
Okay. Yeah, that's
They're from
we talked
6:30
about
to
that
8.
a lot.
Mhm.
What's too early, what's too late, and you're never going to meet everybody where they, in their sweet spot. We just felt like 6:30 to 8 we have to start somewhere. So
Mhm.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We could have done during the day, but that would have knocked out working parents. And we do have working moms in the group. So whenever they go back to work after maternity leave, like they're going to want to come at night. So we talked about like, oh man, well, daytimes would be better for me because of da 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 da. But as a postpartum mom, I would have much rather a nighttime one. So
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Same.
love that. That's so good. Where can we guys find you on social media? Jaunitta, that's a challenge for you because you said you don't like social media. But for people who are in the DFW area, either looking for a postpartum group, looking for a doula or birth class or postpartum doula, where can they find you guys?
I am on Instagram at Epiphany Doula, and I post just about every week. I post the postpartum class, or not class, postpartum group, advertising the postpartum group. I'm I'm trying to get more involved on there. But Caren
Awesome.
is really our mastermind when it comes to social media.
Well, she's so good at it too. Caren, you're so good at it.
I need to create a Instagram for our group. It's just a matter of like getting pictures and having ideas of things to post. So right now we don't have an Instagram. We have a Facebook page that's there, but it's not anything that people are liking yet, because I want to make sure that if I'm going to have a social media, it's going to have content, and haven't done all the content for that yet. So right now it's just us sharing the flyer every week on our Instagram stories, and I send it out to my postpartum moms and stuff, like, hey, come tonight.
Yeah.
What's your Instagram handle?
Yeah, it's called Mom Like Me. So, when it gets its own Instagram page, we'll figure that out. But we thought about just having a
Caren, sorry.
Go ahead.
I am Arlington.
I was just going to ask Caren, okay, perfect. Sorry. Go ahead, Jaunitta. I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted everyone to know it's called Mom Like Me. So when we get it up and running on its own Instagram, that's what it will be.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, this was super fun. I'm so glad. Like when I saw you guys first posting about it, I was like, yes, because we 100% need more of this. That's what, I didn't go to a support group until I had my third, and 100% that's like what saved me. So, made it so much better. So this is, and you're right, Jaunitta, like pretty much ever since COVID, like they're hard to find. They don't happen very often. And I know support groups that were meeting before, most of them just never started back up again, or they couldn't find the space to do it, or like for so many reasons. And so this is definitely something that we need more of. So I'm excited that you guys started that, and it will be such a great resource to the moms in your area. So kudos to y'all. Awesome.
I think I interrupted Caren though. Caren, tell them where to find you.
I'm Arlington Birth Services on all the platforms.
Everywhere.
Awesome.
Yay. All right. Well, thanks so much, guys. This was fun.
Yeah,
it's always so fun to talk to both of you. So
I love doing podcasts.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun with it. Awesome. Okay. Well, if anybody has any questions for Caren or Jaunitta, feel free to comment and we'll send those questions over to them. Or, if you've been to a postpartum support group and loved your experience, we'd love to hear about it. So feel free to send us a message or comment. Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks, guys. We will talk to everybody next week.